Hello and welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour for February 26th, 2021. We've got a wonderful show lined up for you today. My name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow. And joining me, let's bring in our uber extra special guest, Mr. Chris Johnson. Give yourself an introduction.
Hey, thank you. My name is Chris Johnson, and I am the design lead for the UI Builder.
Thank you very much for joining us. And last but not least is definitely our own Brad Tilton. Go ahead.
It could be least. There's only three of us. My name is Brad Tilton. I'm a developer advocate with the developer program here at ServiceNow. And I'm excited to be here today. I've been developing on ServiceNow for quite a while. And I'm excited about the UI Builder topic for today's show.
This is probably one of our biggest live audiences we've had on this thing. This is a popular topic. All right, we've done our personal introductions, and you know the game plan. We do our intros. This is Live Coding Happy Hour. So let's go around and do our beer intros real quick. I stole one from my wife's stock. I went into the fridge because she's normally the one who hoards the sours. But because Andrew is working the camera background, we got to represent our sours. I've got a Beauregard Blueberry Sour Ale that is showing up very silvery on the light. So that is my drink tonight, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you happen to be. Chris, what have you got?
Well, I'm coming in from Chicago in the Midwest, and my wife is from Wisconsin. So I've got a beer that you can only buy in Wisconsin. I've got a New Glarus Spotted Cow. And just kind of my go-to beer because it's delicious, and we're up in Wisconsin quite a bit.
I'll vouch for the Spotted Cow.
Nice. Well, I have today it's a Sugar Shack Diaries Maple Mocha Stout. So it's we'll see how it is. Hopefully it's not too sweet.
That's how, Brad, I don't know where you shop for beer, but I want to go there.
I think I got this one online through like a monthly thing.
All right, then without further delay, Chris is here for a reason. If you saw on social media or just glanced at the title, we're going to be covering UI Builder. Brad, are you getting tired of UI Builder yet? You've been pouring out the content on this stuff.
I'm not. It's the more I've used it, the more I'm excited about it. You know, the power in the tool and all the things you can do with it. You know, I think I have a fairly good understanding of how it works now. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I have done a lot of UI Builder stuff this week. We did some presentations earlier in the week, and so you know, I think so. I have something for today's show that you know, is something I haven't tried yet. So hopefully we can get something working today. But yeah.
All right, and thank you for all the content, the blog articles. Dear viewer, if you haven't already gone over to the developer portal at developer.servicenow.com, ding, I missed my bell. Check out the blog, and there's more to come, right? There's more blog articles?
Yeah, we're trying to do one every Wednesday. I think I had a Thursday in there because I didn't have power for a few days. But we're going to try to do one about every Wednesday for the near future, as long as we have, you know, topics to hit on regarding UI Builder. So yeah, we did one this week around, I think it was client scripts, client state parameters, and events, and kind of how they all work together. And I think we'll be hitting on all of those things on today's show as well.
Excellent. Then without delay, tell us what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, thanks. So we have, we've used our artifact manager application on the show a lot. So I'll just go real quickly on what that is. But for the developer advocates, we manage all of the content that we put out, whether it's a Tech Now webinar, a blog, a video, live stream, community blog. We have a lot of different channels where we release things. And so we manage all of that through an app we call Artifact Manager. There's a lot of automation built into it based on what it is. Like this live stream automatically publishes to YouTube. It sends out calendar invites. And so we manage all that through the app. And one of the things that we do is the three of us, Chuck, Andrew, and me, sit down, every about once a week and take a look at what we have going on, what we did the previous week, what we have going on the next week when it comes to content. And so the goal for today's show is to take a really vanilla version of an artifact manager workspace and add some functionality to it to where, it's a really functional thing that is more functional than the platform list view, which is what we generally look at on those meetings.
I could see this being easily applicable. I mean, yeah, we're using it for artifacts, but you could use this for changes. You could use this for any process where you've got some sort of review board, right?
Yeah. So any process, and I'll share my screen here in a minute, and we'll kind of look at what we have so far and then what we want to do. But we have a lot of people in the chat. We're going to try to do some monitoring of the chat and answer some questions. I see Andrew in there already a little bit, but go ahead and ask your questions. We'll monitor it. If we don't get to your question, we will try to get through that after the stream and get it posted when we post it to YouTube. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I'm going to share this one. And that should work. So we have this Artifact Manager planning board. And can we see all of this? Yeah, it looks good. All right, so we've got this Artifact Manager planning board. Let me show, if we preview it, how it currently works. It's pretty straightforward at this point. But what we like to do is we like to look at what did we do over the last 10 days? And then what are we doing over the next almost, or maybe a little more than 2 weeks? And then, anything else. So what I've done with this planning board is if you click 2 weeks, it changes the filter on this list to the next 2 weeks. And then both gives you a bigger range. And these are, this is functionality you could come in and use the list filter to do. But if you have something like we have with our planning, where we're always looking at this specific, time period, this is a little bit easier to use than if I were to save a bunch of favorites or, have to filter the list every time. So that's how that works. And I'll show a little bit of how I did this. But I have this drop-down component. And when we look at components, there is this first tab here. I think these are all the component properties. So this is what you put into the component. And then on the right here, which I think we can see, these are all the events that the component has. And this is kind of how that component can communicate with the rest of the page. I thought we had, oh, there we go. And so I've got an event handler on my dropdown here that updates a client state parameter with the right value. So my values in my dropdown are encoded queries. And so I am updating this client state parameter with that encoded query. And then we've got a client script that's setting that on the list there. Does that make sense? Did I explain that okay with what we have so far? I'm going to ask this question and pause and open my ear.
I was answering questions, but what I heard made sense, yes.
All right.
Chris, did it make sense?
It did. It did. It was very eloquently put.
Okay, Chris is our
Thanks.
auditor.
All right. So what we want to do here is we want to add a button. So I want a button to pop up a modal that has a quick add functionality. So in these meetings, we generally, we'll say, hey, we need to put something out for this. And all we usually need generally is the title of it, the type of artifact it is, so blog, webinar, and then the planned publish date. Those are kind of our three big fields where we do everything from. So I think what I want to do is I want a button here. I want that button to pop up in a modal. And I think I want to add some stuff to the modal and then have a button on the modal that creates the record. And I think I can do all of that from within UI Builder here.
Such confidence, such confidence.
I'm pretty sure I can. So I played around with modals for like 5 minutes the other day just to like make sure that, that we could at least get started here. And they look pretty straightforward. So I think probably the first thing to do is create a modal. And I don't know, do we have any questions in the chat so far?
We have one from Phil. It says, how best to carry data effectively around in an experience?
That's a good question. I would think within a page, probably client state parameters is the way that you're sharing data around. Or through an event payload somewhere, and then between pages you're generally passing like page parameters. That's my shot at that answer. Chris, does that sound right?
Yeah, if you don't want to write data to the back end, then
that's a great point. Yeah,
passing parameters like that makes a lot of sense. I think in some cases you may not, you'll hit limits on what that can do, and so you end up wanting to write something somewhere that you can go and reference.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, putting it in the server, so writing a record to a table. All right, so let's add a modal, and I have a modal button here.
Nice.
So we've got some different kinds of modal. I think I'm going to want a custom modal because I believe, so alert, confirm, and destroy seem like they will give me a modal where I just add a message to it maybe. And the buttons are preset. And this modal, we want to add some components to with just like a, create record button. And then iframe seems like a good way to port in, something from the platform, or I assume you could bring in something from Service Portal. And then I think the viewport is that you can take another page and put it in the modal.
Another page or a page fragment. It's
okay.
Similar in some ways to an iframe, except it can also you can pass content into it from plugins or other third-party content that maybe you don't even know about yet. And so it's very handy for those sorts of things, but also more complicated.
All right. Okay. So I clicked custom, and it looks like my my modal has a few different drop zones. What do we call these? Drop zones is a CMS term.
Containers?
My old days.
So the places in the UI where components go, we refer to those as slots. And so if you have a container, it has one or more slots. And the way that you know it's a slot is if you look in the content tree on the left-hand side, the slots are indicated with the kind of the dotted outline square. And so depending on your layout, you can have any number of slots. So this is a modal with the default layout, which is sort of a header, main body, and footer. But you could go in and define a custom layout or change the layout sort of to your heart's desire and kind of lay out your modal however you'd like.
All right. So I could change the layout of the modal through here.
You could also nest layouts within layouts as well. So you could take that header and sort of split it in two and those
Add a
sorts of
component,
things,
yeah.
depending on what
Yeah.
you're trying to achieve.
Oh.
Nice. All right. So I think I want to stay pretty simple with this for now.
Start simple. Start simple.
Let's add, so I think I want to stylize text because we just want to add a title here. So I think we will call this new, let's say quick add. That's the term that we typically use.
So one thing to think about as you're thinking about text is the stylized text is very flexible. So if you really love Comic Sans and pink, you can control it to your heart's content. The heading component actually is a little bit more restricted, but it also ties into the theming engine. And so if you're changing your theming engine and you're changing your headings, the heading component will actually inherit those things. And so depending on the situation and the context and what you're trying to do, you may want to use a heading component because you inherit the theming. You may want to use a stylized text component because you want Comic Sans and pink.
Yeah, let's use a heading component. That's a really good point. I had not thought about that, but I probably do want the heading on this modal to match whatever else, whatever I style this as. So let's, what do we call it?
I would think that's what you go for most of the time. I just love the fact that Chris said Comic Sans in pink. It's like, that's the basement. From the designer, that's like an insult. You can't injure him more than doing that.
Comic Sans has a purpose.
Nice. All right. So I think I want to start this with just, let's just create a short description and see if we can get that to work before we add more fields to it. Or what do we call that title? We do call that title.
The label is title, yeah. The field is short description. I get caught by that at least once or twice a day.
I know, Chuck, you know all about that now with your TechNow integration. That's Chuck's who I go to with field names and everything now.
Well, now I'm starting to do a podcast integration with the service that we outsource to. So I've got the spoke being built and the data coming in, and it's a lovely time.
Nice. For Breakpoint, quick plug.
Yes. Ding.
Yeah, I don't think we need anything else here. I guess I don't think we need a placeholder. I'm gonna save because I like to save a lot.
Can custom built components have slots in UI Builder?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would assume.
There's your answer. Yes, from the man. He says yes.
There's some nuance there. But yes, the answer is yes. And actually, you can illustrate this in sort of a way by, if you click on your input here, you'll notice that in the content tree, we actually have two slots there, an end and a start, and those are named slots the component is actually giving you. And so, for example, if you wanted to add like an icon component at the end of your field, you could do that. And so the component author has said, hey, I want to give a little bit of flexibility with my component. So I'm going to go ahead and open up these slots to other people, and they can go ahead and do it.
I like that. Let's add an icon. There's I can't use font awesome icons. Let's go. No. Is there just a good input icon? Oh,
a smiley face. I don't know.
You could do like diamond. I think there's a diamond or something like that.
That'll work.
I think there was a diamond.
There's always a home icon.
Oh, yeah. I like it. All right. So we do have a question. I just saw it, which is there a way to repeat objects like list items like you can do with ng repeat in AngularJS? And I'm gonna take this question and twist it a little bit because there's something I kind of want to do for a different project. But we have, you've got evam for like data row and data set components, and then you have these lists. But is there another way at this point that you know of, Chris, to like, if I wanted to set, create a component that had like some text and a button and then repeat that a bunch of times based on, something I bring in through a data resource? I don't know of a way to do that right now. So I'm wondering, is there a way to do that?
Not in the Quebec release.
Okay. That's a good answer.
The ways that you can achieve things like that would be through, custom componentry that kind of handles that for you. And we have examples of teams that are doing that. And then evam obviously also is another capability with certain limits and realities that it brings along, but no, not in Quebec. We don't have a repeat function.
Okay.
Good question.
But thank you for the feedback.
I have a couple of use cases for that that we can talk about. So the button, for now, I think we'll just call it
submit. How is internationalization or localization done?
Ooh, good question.
So you'll notice that with that label field, you've got a little world icon there.
Yeah.
And so this hits like, I don't really know translation that well because I'm a designer and not a developer, but sure. I know that we added that feature to allow you to target these particular strings for translation. And it's not on every field, obviously, but you see that it's on both the tooltip text and the label. And I'm assuming there's a help center article that explains you how to use it. But
there is. I mean, real quick, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's done through the SysUI message table, or what's the other one? Sys text translate. Sys translated.
There you go. That sounds right.
And so if you're creating a custom component, that's an attribute of that particular config prop. And so as you're creating a custom componentry, you want to be thinking about which things you want to enable translation for and which ones you don't.
Okay. And you would do that like in the now UI JSON file in your custom component?
Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Do it, people. Just start doing it. If you're building custom components, just put it in there for anything that's user facing. Labels, help text, put it in there. You'll thank yourself later.
All right, I'm pretty sure I probably need a client state parameter to hold what I have in the title here so that I can then send it to the server. So let's add one. That looks right. I don't think it needs an initial value. And the way that I have done this in the past is just by binding the input value set, or I guess adding an event handler and updating the client state parameter. And this would be the payload value.
I like the way you said that, Brad. The way I've done it in the past is like, maybe I'm not doing it the best way, but this is the way that works.
We have an expert. I have noticed that there are multiple ways to do things most of the time in UI Builder, which is consistent with other ways in the platform.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually multiple ways to get something done. And I'm sure eventually I will know when to use each of those ways. All right, so I think we have this this modal. We need to do something with the submit button. I think we'll probably need a data resource. So I'm going to save this. So I'm getting nervous. It had been a little while. Whoop.
Oh.
If I unselect it. Can we kill it? There we go. All right, so let's add a data resource, and we're going to want to create a record. And I think there's two alignment planner works. So that's probably a plugin we have enabled. that I don't have enabled in the last instance I did this on. So I think we create a record, and then we have to call this data resource from somewhere. And it is expecting, I think it's expecting a table and a template of fields, which is, I think, an encoded query. And then like display fields, yes, no. I can't remember how I know that it needs those things. Oh, so let's do that. Let's do that in a script here. So I didn't show this before. This is the script I'm using to update the our list here. And then I have another script that is just a handy thing that I've been using because I don't know what all of the event payloads are. And I sometimes, for some components, like this list component, if we look at it, it fires a lot of events, and most of them I kind of know when it fires this event, but not all of them. So one of the things that I have been doing is adding an event handler that calls my client script that logs the payload of the event to the console. I'm sure there's an easier way to figure that out, but that's what I was doing there.
I like it. Nice little debug trick.
All right, so let's add a new one. This is going to be quick add artifact. So we need, the first thing to do is we want that title, and I think that is, it's under the state, and it is called quick add title. So we're going to need that, and then we're going to say, so we need to combine the actual title with and make it an encoded query. And so I think what we can say, artifact template is, right, this is an ES6 thing, right? Where I can do this. It's short description. I'm creating the encoded query. I should go to the list and have it do this for me, but does that look right? Somebody in the chat, tell me if I mess this up. And then we want to take that and we want to create an artifact from it. And so I believe I need to say, well, I think we want to execute. Is that a API?
Not happy with you. I wish I could help.
So I want to call my data resource. Didn't it execute? Maybe it's something else.
Is it?
What else do we have here?
I mean, I don't write JavaScript, but I believe that data thing at the top of the list is how you get access to your data resources.
I think you are right. That, yeah. Do we have more on the list? No. Artifact template, data. All right. I'm going to cheat because I did this somewhere else recently.
That's the way you do it. Copy and paste your previous mistakes.
Let's see. Let's bring up the instance. So Phil says go to data resources and check. So I know what it's called, I'm pretty sure, but I need to call it, sorry.
It keeps it open, no need to save. Where are the data resources?
Oh yeah. I know I can click on data resources. I know it's called create record one, but I need to there's something before I call it. I think it's execute, but I am nervous because it did not show up under the autocomplete. So that is why I am looking at a demo that I did recently where I did this, except I pasted the script in. Oh, except I have it in a OneNote. All right, here we go. Because I had to paste the script in. API data. Oh, it's just the name of the data resource. Yeah, so it was there. But why?
Quick title?
No.
No.
What do we
Artifact?
call that data resource? All right. This is what it's called.
Why wasn't it in there?
I don't know.
If you start typing it, will it jump up?
API data, yeah. So that was it. And then execute, I think, is what we need. The fact that it's not auto-completing scares me.
Yes, it does.
But I'm pretty sure this is how it's supposed to work. Nope. All right, so I think it's expecting table. And Chuck, this is where you come in handy. What's the name of the artifact table?
X_SNC _artifact _MGR _artifact. I contributed
that's not
something.
the only way. That's not the only way that you come in handy, but I know that you would know. All right, template fields.
I should have given you the constants just to see if it would have played.
Artifact template is what we named that. And then I think the other one is use, at this point, I'm just going to copy and paste.
Oh, now you've got Phil questioning his own sanity.
I think this is how this is supposed to work. Wow, something's, hold on, let me close some things. I hear my fan turning on my MacBook, and all right.
Means you're doing it right.
I think I have too many UI builders open. So that looks right for me. So let's go ahead and save things. And I realize I'm saving way more often than I probably need to, but especially when my mouse starts getting laggy, I need to start doing that. So we need to tie, I think, my button to, and I do like how when I clicked on the button, the modal popped up and I didn't have to like pop the modal up first.
Yeah, popped up and selected it.
It's just a nice little detail that I wouldn't necessarily expect.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Whether you did that or not, thanks.
You're welcome. I'll take credit.
Yeah, you're the only representative here, so take credit. Right, and then I think the last thing we need to do is we need to pop the modal from a button. So I'm going to put my button on the right here.
Your quick add?
Yeah. That's not working. So let's add it here. It's this one, right? Yeah. So we got a button. So I always like my buttons to show up in the middle. So I have found myself doing this pretty much anytime I add a button to a container. I make the button go to the middle of the container.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely not a best practice, or maybe it is a best practice. That's a my practice because I like the way that it looks. All right, so let's say quick add. I don't think we need an icon.
Do the
Let's
plus.
not worry about an icon.
Or circle plus.
Plus, yeah. What's the rest of my page look like? That'll work.
And if you wanted to make it look a little bit different, I mean, you could change the variant property as well to turn it into like a primary button or a secondary button, or I think there's also like a positive and a negative button in there too.
Oh, nice. So that would be like if it was negative, it'd probably be red.
That's correct. Yeah.
Nice. Let's positive primary. Let's make it a primary. And then we will call my client script from the button. Did I do that already? No. So I think this may work. Did I miss anything? Anybody?
We got time to still fix it. You can't have everything work in the first half hour.
All right. So let's test it. Ooh, is there a property on the modal? I think there may be like a property on that modal, right?
Andrew's giving you grief. 2 primary buttons on the same screen. Don't do it, Brad.
I knew Andrew was going to say something about the primary buttons.
Go with destructive.
My modal.
Pink
No.
Comic Sans.
Is there a
Right. That's right.
defer modal content loading? So why did my modal pop up right away?
Oh, yeah. When you reloaded the page,
I don't want
boom,
it to
it's
pop
there.
up right away.
You need
What
to
did
on-click,
you-
not on-load.
Oh yeah. Did you actually do it to the click event of the button?
I believe I did. I think the button only has one event, right? Let's see. Yeah, button clicked.
Quick add artifact client script. Does that client script
Oh,
open
no.
the modal?
It does not. Good call. We actually want the open or close modal dialog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I should name this modal. I don't know. Do we think that will fix it?
Nope.
Popped up anyway. Well, let's see if and that doesn't pop it up.
Anything in the log that might be barking at us?
So I think, do we have to set this to yes?
You do. Yeah.
So what's the use case where you wouldn't want it to open?
In certain
the
cases,
modal?
you actually want to have an event close a modal.
Oh, of course. Okay, so this does either, and this
Correct.
is how you control which
Open
one it
or
does.
close. Hey.
There we go. All right. So maybe that fixes that. Why does my modal load?
Maybe
though?
that fixes that. You are full of good sound bites today, Brad.
I don't want to be too confident. All right. So let's see if what we have done works so far, and then we'll troubleshoot why the modal is. I did not need to do that. So let's say quick add.
Okay.
All right. So that
That
works.
Still popping open at the beginning though.
Say Chuck, oh, misspelled, to fix this modal.
That's not happening in 2021.
So I hit submit.
And
I didn't
nothing
do
happened.
anything. This might be where I used that same event handler to close this modal when I hit submit.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So I
Stack
don't
'em
think
up.
it's going to show up in this list. Let's see if it showed up here in the artifact list. So let's see if that worked first. Yeah, it did work. So
Okay.
it created
the record. That's
record
good.
with the title. So that,
So we know that
was good.
script is running.
So most of what we have done works, but we want the submit button to close the modal. I think we just add another event handler, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
That almost seems too easy. And then we got to figure out why it's popping up at the page load. There.
All right. Well, let's see if it another artifact. I think I may be able to say all, but I don't think it'll.
Refresh.
There's search up here.
Oh.
Well, it's in order of planned publish date.
Oh, that's
I
true.
think
That's true. We didn't
actually,
give it
the
a
order is the type for some reason. Yeah, we'll just refresh this one. All right, so it is
creating
still
it.
working.
Yep.
And it closed the modal, so that was good. We just want to figure out why the modal is popping up at the beginning.
I just realized you're on Andrew's employee instance, so be nice.
This is a clone of Dev Program.
Does the page itself have an event that's firing that is opening the modal on page load?
So how does it have this event? Did we didn't add this, did we? Or am I going crazy?
I don't remember you adding this now.
So that was the right call.
You could delete that.
Yeah. So that was it. I do want to talk about page events a little bit. So let's see, we're refreshing. That was it. So I'll take a drink.
Yay. We have a quick ad.
Yeah, so that works. So that was nice. That works. Page events are something that they are pretty powerful, I think, because you can define this handled event on your page and then call it from multiple places, which is something I did, I think, a couple of weeks ago in one of my blogs or demos. And it was pretty handy. And then I like the page ready event. So, I used to do a lot of CMS portals and UI pages, and you're always using the prototype DOM loaded functionality. So that's what this reminds me of, being able to do something, once the page loads is nice. So that worked. We got everything going. Do we want to add more fields to our modal? So I have two more things that I would like to do. We can't do them both. We probably have 10 minutes left of development time. So we can either add more fields to the modal and make it functional, or we can add, I think the other one's probably too much for the time we have left. But the other thing that I want to do is, so this list of artifacts has a lot of different kinds of artifacts, and sometimes we only want to look at one type of artifact. And so what I have thought about doing is either some toggles or maybe like a multi-select dropdown where I can tell it, these are the ones I want. So I only want to look at blogs, or I want to look at blogs and live streams. Which I think maybe too much. I think there's just going to be too many parts for that.
Andrew wants to see it do a list refresh on submit when you get your new record in there.
Yeah, let's do that.
That would be
very also fire like a shell notification saying that your record has been created successfully too.
Ooh, that would be a nice bit of feedback.
Yeah.
With the
I have no idea
number.
how to do that notification. Can you talk us through that, Chris?
Oh, great.
You volunteered it.
It's an event that it's an event handler that you can use.
All right.
See, this is a live show. I gotta be careful what I suggest.
That's right. It was this button. So let's say, what do we have? Add alert notifications.
I believe it's that. So these are things like the setup loading state. You can actually add like a loading bar, one of those horizontal loading bars across the top of the application, or other, loading types of states that the workspace supports. And then you can add alert notifications. Now, I believe this is a big old blob of JSON, and I don't know what the blob of JSON is, but you can pass in notification objects here and actually, have them display at the top level of the app.
Array of notification objects. Let's see.
I don't know how this is formatted, so
let's just try.
Name. Oh boy, that's not an object.
Oh yeah, it's an array
Object's
of
gonna have
objects.
try name or title. I don't know.
All right.
Subject. We can spend the next 10 minutes guessing.
This is definitely not going to work. I bet we can find one of these somewhere that is working, but I gotta save it. Let's see.
You have to close the window every time, or can you just refresh it?
I think I can refresh. Test.
Message. Matthew is saying it's message. We got the bar.
Right. Let's try message. Oh.
He typed it very confidently.
He better. I think he was on the team that built that feature.
Oh, nice. Well, that's good to have. All right, let's see. Quick add, another test.
Oh, Matthew. What? Unless we screwed up somewhere, which is always possible.
That's a possibility. Message.
Do you need the square brackets, or is it just?
It says it's an array of objects. So
it did say array of objects, but I think it'll give me some feedback if it doesn't like the format of this. So let's see. Okay.
Oh yeah, Matthew didn't have square brackets on there, so much for the array part.
I'm just grasping at straws at this point. Didn't like that at all, so it wasn't right. Okay.
All right.
Heaven forbid we should try and get like the record number in there.
So I think generally what we'd probably do is bind this to some sort of script that would also sort of say, hey, did the record submit successfully or did it fail? And then make a determination about what to do next based on whether, because sometimes things don't get written to the back end for whatever reason. And so then, that script would be able to say, hey, what am I going to do in these particular cases? And you can kind of decide how you want your UI to work. But, this also works if you assume that everything will always work and always save correctly.
Yeah, I guess so. One question I would have would be our client script. If it has like some error handling in this, then I could call those events if it was successful, and then I could, show a different notification if it was not successful. But that's probably something we can look into. So let's. You
want to add a couple more fields?
I don't know. I did like Andrew's idea of the
list refresh
of the list refresh, because I saw a demo on how to do a list refresh, and I don't quite remember it, but I believe so. I'm not sure we'll actually be able to get it done, but I think the way that you do it is that you pass something into the refresh requested on the component of like the current time.
Okay.
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah, you saw that one?
I saw the
type.
Let's
type in message.
Back,
okay, one more try. One more try for Philemon.
All right. So that was this one.
An array, so put it back in the square brackets.
There we go.
Yeah, I wanted to type right in that box too.
That does. I almost always try to type into the box and then I get the pop-up.
Thank you for the feedback.
And if it's going to be in the box, it'd be nice if it was, formatted JSON too. Figure that out.
Is it not?
Type. Info. Right.
All right.
There is a JSON formatter at the top of that box too, by the way, that will make your JSON look pretty. It's that thing.
Yeah. There it is.
There we go. I have
Works
used
for me.
that in the client script. So
And
that's
then-
the now code editor, and it works against different, like it does JavaScript.
Oh, it's formatted there
JSON.
too. Although it's
That's
off screen.
nice. All right, so save.
And refresh. Type info
Alright,
makes sense.
This one.
Hey,
there
we go.
Nice.
Ding, ding, ding,
That was
ding,
a
ding,
community
ding.
effort.
Thanks, chat. All right. So the list refresh is the other thing. I don't know if we'll actually get to that, but we can try it. So the way that I have seen people do this is the refresh requested. So let's see what the tooltip says, or the info icon. An object containing a timestamp that can be passed down to trigger a refresh. So I think what I have seen is basically like a client script passing the current date time into that so that it refreshes
immediately.
Right there. Do I have that? I don't know if I have that handy though. Let's see. My other browser, where did it go? No, I don't have that handy, and I don't think we're going to get to it in the next 5 minutes. So let's add just a type to our modal.
Okay.
Actually, type as the. Do we want to add type or publish date? And
which sounds harder?
I mean, date time sounds fun. Has said no one. All right. Let's see. What is is there a date input, or is it just an input?
Calendar? I don't know.
Date? Calendar. This one looks promising.
I don't think that's what you're.
Nope.
I think that's.
He tried to warn us. He tried to warn us. I don't think you.
Right.
Boom.
Let's see. I guess let's scroll through. Let's see. Somebody, maybe somebody will tell us.
Got like 100 components.
Is it just an input that we then?
The input does have a type selector, so if you just add the input, there is a type box, but I don't know what all the different types are.
Whoa.
Up at the top.
Oh,
email, IP number, text. I don't think that's gonna be it. So I'm watching the chat, waiting for one of y'all to give me the right answer. Mini calendar. Is that?
I'm not hopeful on this one either.
So this is what happens?
It's Friday.
So what does this calendar do? Okay, click on cancel on value change. You can't get a date picker as input outside of the form. Oh, I think I remember this from another thing. So I think
I'm disappointed.
We probably from a process owner perspective, if I'm thinking about how we will work with this, I think a workaround could just be to set it like a day in the future and then rename it or redo it in the list. But I could also just use like a drop down to say like how far out do we want this, because we generally it's like we're either going to publish something next week or we want to publish something at some point, but we're going to set it to 2 months from now. So that could work. But I think
look at the time.
We're about out of time for that. Somebody says reveal the name. ServiceNow Dev Program is Andrew, guys. I will pull back the curtain. He's in the background. All right. So I think I'm going to stop sharing, and maybe we can do a little bit of Q&A and then rate our drinks.
Can you easily add a regex on inputs, crossing the line to custom component? Question mark.
I'm going to stop sharing. I don't think you can give Slack points in the in the YouTube chat, Phil. It's a good try though.
Nor will it give the bow tie emoji when you mention me.
All right, so if you have any questions at this point, we've had a lot of chatter, and I think we answered some of it, but we've got a few minutes if anybody has some questions. So input type equals date. So I do think, Ty, I do think there is a limit. And I do remember at some point hearing that, the date input is not available at this point. But I think it's safe to say that future releases, we will see more components available to be, for you to build things with, and there'll just be more functionality, which is generally the case with any product that we have. But I would expect that specifically with components.
And in this case, I mean, you could also just create a small form view and embed that in your modal, and then get all the form controls that you're used to. Now, there are probably some pros and cons to that as well, but you would get all the expressiveness of the forms that we support. So,
yeah, that's a good point, because there are some form fields type components that would let you input into them, and I'm guessing there is a way to take the output from that and then put it in a format that they're expecting on the server.
Scrolling back, looking for some other questions that we may have missed.
So will there be a service portal built in UI Builder soon? So I have a sort of official answer for this, because I asked this question recently. But I think for the Quebec release, the focus was really on workspaces and portals for apps. So probably smaller portals. This is not the time where you can take your fully fledged service portal and then just port it over to UI Builder and rebuild it. There's still some functionality that we'll need to build in the future. And then I think there's a CSM configurable workspace is another thing that you can work with in UI Builder in Quebec.
All right, should we rate our beers?
Yeah, I think we're ready for that.
All right, I know I went out of order at the beginning. The host should not go first, but force of habit. So I'm going to give my my Beauregard Blueberry Sour Ale. I'm really liking this. I was not a sour person once upon a time, but it's really growing on me. I'm going to give this a 4.0.
not bad.
Chris, how did you do?
Wow, I mean, this is my everyday beer, so I like it a lot. I think I'll probably give it a 4.5.
All right.
Nice. I've got my Sugar Shack Diaries Maple Mocha Stout with maple syrup, vanilla beans, cocoa nibs, and coffee beans. It was very good. Typically things like that, one of them kind of overpowers everything else, and that's all you taste. This was really well balanced, so I'm going to give it a 4.5.
It sounds like a very smooth beer.
It's very smooth. It feels real thick. So yeah.
It's also very appropriate for Quebec, given the maple syrup.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, let's pretend I planned that.
Well called. You should be in marketing. And with that, thank you very much, Chris, for joining us. You're extremely helpful in some of those tight spots and even some of the lucky spots.
Happy to be here. It was fun.
Hope you can join us again sometime. Brad, awesome job. Learned a lot and shown just how much more there is to learn. So thank you very much, wonderful viewer. We are going to sign off now. Thank you, Andrew, for doing all the back-end work. Everything looked like it was working fine. Much better job than I do. I still have my trainee badge hiding around here somewhere. So kudos to you. And thank you, dear viewer, for watching, whether you're watching live with us today or at some point in the future. Hope to see you again right back here. Don't forget to check out the developer portal and the blog, developer.servicenow.com. Till next time, take care. Stay safe, everybody.